Hello. In this demo, we'll review the equipment management features available in OpenLMIS. From the home screen, I'll go to Equipment on the navigation bar and select Equipment Inventory. On the Equipment Inventory page, similar to the requisition page, I can select if I want to see the inventory for my home facility or any of the facilities that I supervise. So we'll start looking at the inventory for my home facility. So my facility and program have already defaulted here, and I can click Search to display the list of equipment. Once the equipment is displayed, I can see a number of details about each device, including the serial number, reference name, make and model, the type of equipment, so we have 2 ventilators listed at this facility, the functional status, as well as the last time that the equipment inventory for this particular device was updated. To see any additional details about the equipment, I can click the View button to the right under the Actions column, and that will bring up the Equipment Details window. Here I can see all of the details about the equipment that are available in the table on the main screen, as well as some additional information. From this screen, I can edit the equipment details, which I'll come back to in a moment, as well as update the functional status. So right now this Vent 2 device is listed as functioning, but if the ventilator had broken, I can choose to update the status in the system by clicking Update Status, and then I'll be able to choose from the drop-down menu a new status. So if, for example, it needed to be repaired, I could select Awaiting Repair, and I could also select the reason that that device was not working and why it was in need of repair. So I could identify that it needed some spare parts. Once I click Update, the functional status is updated to Awaiting Repair. If I close the window, I can see now the functional status on the table as well is updated, and by hovering over that status, I can see the reason that it needs repair. I can also update the status directly from this screen by clicking on this edit icon, and that brings me back to the same window that we were just in, and I can update the status back to functioning. So once the device was repaired, I can update the status again to indicate that now it's functioning and available. Additionally, I can also add new equipment directly from this screen if there are additional devices that are not currently recorded in the system. So I'll click Add Equipment, which will bring up the Add New Equipment window. And I'll start by identifying where this equipment is located. So again, I have the option of choosing my facility as well as supervised facilities if I have the permissions to update other facilities' inventory. I can also select the program that this is relevant to, so COVID is selected by default. And I can also select the equipment type. So we have some ventilators already. So if I wanted to add an ICU bed, I could then choose the make and model of the device or piece of equipment based on the type that I select. And that will bring me to the next screen where I can add additional details about the piece of equipment, such as the serial number, which is a required piece of information, which is noted by the red asterisk next to it. So anything with that asterisk you are required to define for the equipment, and anything without it, you can add information if you have it and if you want to have that information recorded, but if you don't know it, it doesn't prevent you from recording the equipment. So I will add the serial number and a reference name. And then I can move on to say that the equipment is active, was installed just this year. If I know the source, so if this came from the ministry, for example, I can identify that it's from the ministry. And then there are a number of additional details such as warranty expiry and other equipment specifics that I can add if desired or if applicable. And so for any of these additional fields, though they are required, if it doesn't apply to the specific type of equipment, you can note that it's not applicable. And then there's finally another space just to add any additional notes. Once you've defined all of the details for the equipment, you can click Save. And that will allow you to set the functional status for the new equipment. Click Update, and now we can see that we have this new ICU bed as part of our equipment inventory with all of the equipment details like we had for the previous equipment that was already available. So on this inventory, we only have a few items, so it's pretty easy to look at the whole list. If you had a longer list though, and perhaps multiple pages of equipment to look through, you can use the filter option to look at equipment only based on a certain functional status. So if you, for example, only wanted to see the equipment that was waiting for repairs because you wanted to know what needed your attention, what needed to be fixed, you could select the awaiting repair status and click search, and now we see that there's no items in our inventory that are awaiting repair, which is great. They were all listed as functioning, so if we did select functioning, we would see them all again. And if I wanted to clear that filter, I just click on the filter and then click on this X next to the drop-down menu and click search again to apply the updated filters or lack of filters. If I did want to edit any of the details about the equipment that I have in my inventory, I can click View, and as I mentioned a minute ago, there is an Edit button from the Equipment Details window. So if I click on Edit, I'm brought to the Edit Equipment Details window, which is very similar to the Add New Equipment Details. It just already is populated with the data that we had entered about this particular device or equipment before. And from here, I can make any updates that are needed. So, for example, if I realize that I put an extra number in the serial number, I can delete that so that it's accurate. I will note that there are just a couple of things that you cannot edit about the equipment, including the location and equipment type, make, or model. Once you're done making any updates, you can click Save. And that information will now be reflected both in the Equipment Details window as well as on the main table in the Equipment Inventory page. So as I noted previously, we were looking at the inventory for my home facility. If I have access to the inventory for supervised facilities, which again is all based on my user permissions, I can also go in and select a supervised facility. And if I click search, then I'll see the inventory for that facility. Depending on the user permissions, I may only be able to view the information from the other facility. I may not actually be able to update or edit anything. And that concludes our equipment inventory demo, so I will log out of the system. And that wraps up our session.